Hello everybody, happy Monday. I hope it's not too breezy. Oh my gosh. I don't know what's happening, but right now I have never felt so fast, so strong, so just at peace and good in my body. And I think a huge part of it is I have asked these 5 questions and they have profoundly changed my life. And so I am hoping that they can have an impact on you. If you've seen any of my posts, I did a virtual watch party of Embrace, an Australian documentary all about learning how to embrace your body, embrace who you are now, everything about you. And it was, oh my gosh, if you get an opportunity, you have to watch this movie. By the way, here's a bit of my view today. This movie is amazing. It's incredible. And it really it deep dives into all of the things of how much, since we were like children, that we've been taught, particularly as women, that the most important thing we could ever be is beautiful. And it's interesting how we had a discussion afterwards, and how many women I've heard, either they feel like they're dumb or they don't have anything else to offer except for their looks. And then the moment that they age or they gain weight or something changes, which inevitably will happen, then they have almost like an identity crisis. Like, what else do I have to offer? I had that. That was me. Like, there was a time in my life when, you start aging and you're just like, and you have to learn and remind yourself that the way that you look really is the least interesting thing about you, that there is so much more to you. But the other thing we talked about is then people who felt like they didn't have looks to work on, is then they would throw themselves into their work. I have a podcast episode. I'll have to find it. Victoria and I talk about this, how like I would dive so hard into going to the gym because if that was the only thing I had, like if I didn't have my looks, what else did I have? And for her, she felt like she dove right into her work and like was the straight A student, like the amazing, overachiever, and that was the way that she felt like she was enough. She's like, well, I don't have my looks, but at least I have this, right? And it's just interesting how it all comes down to this lack of like self-worth or needing validation or looking for things outside of ourselves to tell us that we're enough, that we're good enough, that we're worthy. And there was a point in the movie, again, please watch it. I don't know why it's not available in the US or the UK. It's available on Australian Netflix. I encourage you to get a VPN, at least a free trial, just to watch it. Let me know if you don't know what a VPN is. Google it. Or maybe I think it's on Tubi, whatever else, but check it out. Definitely worth a watch. But there was a point in the movie where they had a whole bunch of them in Australia, and they go for this naked swim, and they're all like in a lake, or there's probably the ocean, it's Australia, and they're all swimming naked, and they're like, well, what's the point of this? Like all these men and women just doing this huge swim. And he talks about it as it's an opportunity. It gives people an opportunity to take pause and reflect. And he said that there's 4 things that usually cause people to like pause and reflect. You ready? Death, divorce, redundancy, and there's another D one. Oh crap, I'll figure it out. But there's 4 things. Disease, haha, I knew it. Death, disease, divorce, or redundancy. Those 4 things that happen in our life, that's when people start to take pause and ask themselves what's really important to them. Hey, Anne. And so I urge you to think about, can you take pause? And here's question 1 for you. You ready? Can you take pause and ask yourself, am I living the life I want? Am I actually living the life that I want? And there was a time that I would tell you quite honestly that I wasn't. And I can tell you right now, and it's not so much about this place. Obviously, this place is amazing, but for me, I am actually doing all of the things that I want, and I'm actually living the life that I want right now. And the biggest reason that's true is because of the other 4 questions. So you ready? So number 1 was, am I living the life that I want? So now I want you to ask these 4 questions for yourself. And hopefully you can take pause right now, and you don't need to have death, divorce, disease, or redundancy happen to you in order for you to ask them, okay? So really sit with them. I'd love for you can comment them down below, write it out, but really think about it. So question number 2, I guess. If you only had 1 year left to live, what would you stop doing? I asked this to somebody in the on Instagram, and she said I would stop dieting. Mine was I would stop worrying so much about whatever, right? And I can still find myself caught up in that loop sometimes, worrying, getting so worried about the future, about money, about my job, about relationships, whatever it is, right? Maybe it's people pleasing. The next question, if you had only 1 year left to live, what would you start doing? Would you start traveling? Would you start getting outside more? Would you start meditating? Would you start that hobby that you've always wanted to? What would you start doing? Next question. If you only had 1 year left to live, what would you no longer care about? What would you no longer care about? Would you still continue to care about whether you had a flat stomach or not? Would you still care about what your arms look like, or your weight, or what someone might think if you actually took the courage and leap of faith and actually did what you wanted with your life? And the last question, if you only had 1 more year left to live, what would you care more about? Would you care more about the people and actually be present with the people that actually matter to you? Would you care that they know how much you love them? Would you care more about feeling good in the moment rather than continuously telling yourself that you don't deserve to feel good right now, that you have to wait, that you don't deserve to go to the party, that you don't deserve to put on a bathing suit, that you don't deserve to put yourself out there and be seen? What would you care more about? And I really encourage you to ask those questions for yourself and to really think about why is it that when we shorten the amount of time that we think that we have on this earth, which is finite, by the way, anyway, which is precious anyway, no one is guaranteed tomorrow, no one. Why is it that when we start to shorten the time that we think we have, our priorities change? And how can we start living that way right now? I really encourage you to ask these questions. How much of your headspace is taken up by worrying so much about what other people might think about you? Other people that you don't even know, that you may never see again, or that you don't even really care about. What a waste. I so encourage you to please focus on what matters. And if you are an ambitious woman who is struggling with constantly thinking about food and your weight and never feeling good enough in your body or in your own skin, I've been there. I've been there. For nearly 2 decades, I struggled with body dysmorphia, hating my body, binge eating, bulimia, anorexia, all of it, orthorexia, being obsessively thinking about healthy eating, all of the things. I've been there. I've wasted years of my life obsessing about trivial things. And I know it doesn't feel trivial right now, and that's okay. But if you want help with this, if you're ready to break free, to have food freedom, to finally feel at peace in your body, and to feel confident in the authentic, beautiful, unique, special person and essence and energy that is you, then I encourage you to book a free strategy call with me. I'd love to chat This is what I do. I have a community for you. We have support, accountability, and I promise you, you're worth it. You're worth it. I'd love to chat. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing evening. Whatever you are doing, make it count. Love you guys.